is up, you all? Today I will be giving you all my final predictions for Stranger Things season 5 before volume 1 kicks off. Before we get into it, definitely smash the like button because it definitely helps, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. So obviously I'm going to do this before volume 2 and volume 3, but this is just my final predictions before volume 1 comes out. And some of these are crazy, but you never know because it's the finale, it's the final season. So follow me. Starting off, I think that Will Byers will get powers in Stranger Things season 5. I just feel that this whole time we've been getting this lead up with Vecna being connected to Will Byers and Will the Wise and all of this. I think that we're definitely going to see a Will be possessed, especially with everything we saw through the trailers and everything. He's still connected to Vecna. He's saying he still feels Vecna. So I think that the way Will's going to get powers is through Vecna. I think from the first 5 minutes we've seen how, you know, he takes over Will Byers and everything. I think that Will Byers is definitely a part of Vecna, and he's going to obtain some of his powers. Something else that plays into this crazy final prediction is that I think that Will Byers could potentially take out someone close to him, being someone from the core kids. It can be someone like his own brother, like Jonathan. We saw what he did to Bob in past seasons of Stranger Things. I think that he's going to put people in danger for sure. He's like Vecna's GPS. I think that he's definitely going to be a danger to the core of kids at a point, and I can see him being possessed, also having powers like Vecna. I definitely think that. I don't think that he's going to get took out because we already seen the worst of Will when we thought, you know, he got took out earlier in the seasons. He had his moment already. He's the one that's kind of responsible for everything going on besides 11 opening the gate. So it makes sense. I think Will Byers is going to have powers, and he's not going to utilize them in the correct way. Maybe he will at the end, but in the beginning he won't. So next, Max Mayfield. So we see that she's on bed rest and she actually is in a coma. And if you follow the channel, you know I've talked about this a lot, where I think that we're going to see Max Mayfield in her conscious when we see her on screen. I think that we're definitely going to have her on bed rest a lot. You got her friends visiting her, Luke is visiting her, trying to keep her head above water and stuff like that. But when we do see her, they're going to cheat the system where she's definitely on bed rest and she's asleep or whatever. But when we see her, it's going to be like in a Dear Billy episode where she's in her conscious and she's dealing with things, she's seeing things, and she's going to be able to help her friends somehow, some way, in some type of revenge way. While Vecna is doing things to her friends, she's going to step in and be able to help towards the end. I think it's definitely going to be some type of payback after what he did to Billy, and you know, he's responsible for that. So that's going to be her role, where we see her in her conscious, and then towards the end or right before the final battle, that's when we're going to see her get, you know, took out the hospital, and maybe she wakes up or something like that. And I think she's going to have a huge role, a huge side role, like a side story type of role, where in the end it ends up helping her friends just off of her conscience and her connection to Vecna. Now I think she's now going to be a part of Vecna in some way, but she's going to use that to help her friends. And we know that Vecna's victims become a part of him once he deals with them. So I think that's going to be Max Mayfield's role for sure. And then next, Will having flashbacks. Of course, I think that this prediction is something that we all are predicting, where we're not going to just get that flashback of the first 5 minutes where young Will is in Castle Byers in the Upside Down. He's singing and the Should I Stay or Should I Go song, and then we see the Demogorgon chasing him. I think we're going to get a lot of flashbacks because we see at a point Will Byers is wandering off from his friend group in the woods where the Chrissy and Eddie Munson bench is. I think it's going to go back to the earlier season where he steps off and he has these visions of like just reminiscence, where he's just feeling the vibes and the tension of him being connected to Vecna, him just kind of remembering, you know, everything that happened in the Upside Down in the real world. I think we're going to see a lot of flashbacks through each episode and just kind of telling one backstory kind of, and is letting us know a little bit about that night a little more and what happened to Will while he was in the upside down. I definitely think we're going to get more flashbacks of Will Byers. And my next prediction is that I think that Murray is a goner. I feel it. I don't know what it is. And if you're watching this right now, you probably feel it too. But that scene that we got in that trailer where we see him and Robin in the truck and he's driving, it's just something about that scene where I think in particular, now I could be wrong, he gets took out at the end of that scene, or probably in a different scene. I just see Murray just being a sacrifice for Robin or someone, or he doesn't even have to be a sacrifice, but almost like that just death that has to happen because he doesn't have too much going on with him. He does. He's a good character. You know, he has a lot of good scenes, but you know what I mean? I just think Murray, it can be a death that can happen that makes us feel sad without us knowing that it could make us feel sad until we see it on screen. So I definitely think Murray's a goner, but I can be wrong. Also, who else I think that is a goner is Steve Harrington. And the reason is because they were going to take Steve out anyways when he was just like the bully and the butthead or whatever. They were going to originally take Steve Harrington out, and he was going to have this emotional, traumatic, sad death because of the type of person he was. But he ended up growing on the audience, and people like the babysitter title and things like that. And now people love Steve Harrington. His hair, his swag, they just love Steve Harrington. But now I think he has a big reason to sacrifice himself because he's so close to Dustin and everything that happened with Eddie Munson. I think if he does go out, it's going to be him sacrificing himself for the core kids, or at least Dustin. I can just see that happening, especially with this love triangle going on with Jonathan and Steve and Nancy. It just makes sense. I think I could be wrong. I know you don't like this, guys, but Steve Harrington, it seems like he could potentially be a goner. And I just feel like it's in the air, some of the stuff he's saying in these interviews and the fate of his character and the ending for his character. It's a little fishy, but I don't think Steve Harrington is safe. Now, my next prediction is the vanishing of Holly Wheeler. So we know, once again, these are final predictions, but we got some Volume 1 final predictions in here. So the second episode is the vanishing of. So I definitely think it's the vanishing of Holly Wheeler. I definitely think that we're going to see her get took by Vecna, similar to how Will got took. And that's going to bring Will and Mike closer, because Mike is going to need advice from Will, because we're going to put 2 and 2 together that his sister got took the same way that he did. I think that situation is going to take place where we see Karen Wheeler under the tub in the water with Holly Wheeler, and I think that that's going to actually be a side situation that happens that leads into the main story. But yes, I definitely think that we're going to see her get took in that scene right there, because the vanishing of Will Byers, the vanishing of Holly Wheeler, it makes sense. I'm pretty sure the vanishing, because people said Jane Hopper at first, and I started to think that once we saw that missing poster, but I'm now thinking it's Holly Wheeler. But that's a prediction. Also, the military massacre, I think that that's going to be a scene where someone important gets took out. I just feel it, especially with everything's going on. It gives final, battle. Also, it's a lot going on with these trailers, but that military base, I think a lot's going to go on right there, where it's going to be so many things going on, like with different groups and different characters, and they got their own groups. Like, for example, you see Mike, Will, and Joyce as a group with the little kid Derek, and you see the Demogorgon flying over them. I think someone's going to get took out very important in that scene. Maybe it can be Linda Hamilton's character, and I'm not saying she's not important, but she's important in that scene. So I just think someone's going to get took out. We have heard about like a brutal death happening. One of the most brutal deaths in Stranger Things history will happen in season 5. So maybe it'll happen right there in the military massacre, but I can be wrong. I just think something important is going to happen in that scene. I definitely think in Volume 1 we're going to see the kickoff of Dustin being bullied. We're going to see the aftermath of just everything in season 4. Obviously, them living in like this apocalyptic Hawkins, and them on base and just living a different life and adapting. That's definitely probably going to happen in Volume 1. But for the most part, just seeing Dustin go through everything with him being a different character, you know, him being a different Dustin because he lost his buddy Eddie Munson, and now he's dealing with these bullies after everything that happened with Jason and just the town of Hawkins accusing him of things. I definitely think we're going to see him get bullied. We're going to see some hellfire conversation, probably see some back and forth between Dustin and Erica, since Erica is a part of Hellfire. Definitely seeing some of the core kids. I think for Valiant 1 mostly we're going to just see everybody get their foot in and see how everybody's been since everything happened with the aftermath. Possibly that scene with 11 train and that montage with the junkyard, that's going to happen. I definitely can see them in the lunchroom together talking, seeing Joyce and Hopper, seeing Jonathan and Nancy. It's going to just be Valiant 1's going to be getting our foot in together and things like that. So we know the Sorcerer episode is going to be crazy probably, and I'm glad that they released it in volumes. But moving on, I think that 11, we want to figure out some stuff with 11, and I've been saying this if you follow the channel, where 11 somehow is connected to Vecna also, but not just Will, but 11. And the reason I say that is because you got to think Vecna is technically the first. He's one, right? Henry Creel, he's the first one. So he was the first one with the telekinetic powers and everything. I think that at some time in season 5, he's going to reveal to 11, you're no different from me. We're one. We're connected. Somehow, like, your blood is my blood. Like, at the end of the day, we're going against each other. And it's gonna make 11 almost feel like they're like, yeah, really intertwined with each other, basically, since the rainbow situation, them battling, and, you know, 11 opening the gate, her being the reasoning for Vecna. He's gonna also be able to tell her, I'm the reason for you, you know, because I'm 1 and you're 11, so I had to go through other subjects too to get to you. So in the end, you're going against me, but you're a part of me, similar to how 8's her sister. You see what I'm saying? Once he reveals that to 11, it's going to definitely connect them in a way. That's a theory that I have, that we're going to have a moment like that where it's going to definitely happen, because we've seen 11, well, we've seen something be brought up with Millie Bobby Brown about some type of revelation with the character 11, and I think it's going to be that connection between 11 and Vecna, just because it's always been there for real, especially the fact that her and 8 are like technically sisters. Have you ever thought about, what about her and Vecna? You know, her and 1, they're technically the same. So I think we're going to definitely get that. Also, I think that Lucas is in danger for some reason after them tunnel shots we got in a trailer and having the Demogorgon on his tail. Something tells me that Lucas might get took out by sacrificing himself for Max, just because he loves her that much. And I feel like, could you imagine Max waking up out the coma and finding out that Lucas actually got took out, type of thing? Like, last time she seen him, he actually was, you know, crying his eyes out. But next time someone has to tell her, like, Lucas got took out. You know, that's actually super emotional. Will actually hurt. I do have another theory. Now that I think about it, I think that Erica is going to play a big part. Just off the fact she's in Hellfire now and she knows how to operate the Dungeons and Dragons game. I definitely think that it's going to be something with that, and just her using her smarts and her brains, helping Lucas in the gang. Just her being a new addition to the group of Hellfire and playing Dungeons and Dragons. Going back to that very first moment. Also, I think that the finale will somehow play into a live action Dungeons and Dragons game. Remember when they were playing in the basement, like I told you in previous videos, when Mike pulls out the piece and he's like, it's the Demogorgon. I think all that's going to connect to that final moment where I think 11's going to die. Actually, I think that, yeah, my favorite character is going to die. I know it's crazy, but because she's the, you know, she's the reason everything happened for real. She opened the gate, she pushed Vecna through the gate, and she just has that reason to make that sacrifice. I think with her making that sacrifice and, you know, getting took out by Vecna, possibly, it makes sense because she's done beat Vecna 3 times. The Rainbow Room, the Gymnasium, in the finale of season 4, she's done beat her. They're not going to keep letting 11 beat Vecna. I think if she dies, it's going to push the core kids to get revenge on Vecna. And when against him in her spirit, you know, in honor of 11. I think she's going to be that sacrifice just because she's the hero. It makes sense. She has the connection. And I think that's what's going to make her weak once she finds out her and Vecna are one, basically. You see what I'm saying? They're connected, and it's going to somehow tamper with 11's ability to go against him. But I can be wrong. But you all, later today, it's no more waiting. Volume 1 will drop, and we will be knee deep in Stranger Things season 5. I cannot wait. With that being said, man, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know y'all theories down in the comments. My review and recap for Stranger Things season 5 volume 1 will be out ASAP. Turn on the noti bells. With that being said, enjoy Stranger Things season 5 volume 1. And I will see you all in the next one. Over and out.